Hey dudes, it's Todd. I'm gonna make this my sales pitch video on Fortress America. What I'm gonna show you guys here is a moment in a game in progress. As we can see here, it is the end of the third turn. And the invaders have each had 3 turns, and USA always goes last. At this point, I've completed USA combat in my attempt to repel the invaders, and right now the USA is going to resolve the results of those combats. So once again, this is a 3 versus 1 player game. The U.S. is invaded from the west, the south, and the east, and has basically a certain amount of time to survive. Let's zoom in and see what the... Whoops. Hey, come here. Let's zoom in and see what's going on up in the northwest. Okay. A battle that the United States just fought was a battle to try to retake Portland. This would have been a fairly decisive battle if I'd managed to kill that helicopter. The reason is that the Yellow Menace, as with all invaders, have to be able to draw a supply line at all times back to their invasion zones. If I had been able to complete the battle in Portland, the invaders would have had a chance to reestablish their supply line, but it would have been difficult for them, and it, in my opinion, definitely would have slowed them down. These guys here would have had to at least put some forces in trying to take this little guy out. And new invaders come in from this direction every turn. Wrong tool. New invaders can come in from these directions every turn, but they would have had to have done pretty much both of those. And again, that's if the helicopter here had been destroyed, which it wasn't. But that would have been a really nice, satisfactory victory for U.S. Because it would have slowed down momentum of the Yellows coming in through the northwest. Also, I think it's a good time to notice this guy. Let's see, similar to this guy. This is a different unit than the United States regular infantrymen, which is shown here. This guy is a partisan, and the United States starts with none of them, but over the course of the game they can pop up pretty much anywhere, and they're basically like an infantry, but they have one special ability, which is when defending alone, they roll a much better type of dice. So let's clear that out. And what's going to happen here, since I failed in my bid on Portland, I did send over a U.S. bomber, so that guy's got to get out of there. He's got a 4 move. Let's take him back to 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take him back to Salt Lake City. These guys, too, I'm going to move them back to Seattle in order to, again, let my partisan take full advantage of his bonus defense when defending alone. So that's the story of what's going on. in the northwest. Okay, then back again. So that means that this force that is, this yellow force that is 2 spaces east of Portland remains a major threat to the U.S. However, the fact that I still own Seattle means that they've got... I'm still going to try to apply pressure on their supply line and try to cut them off here, if possible. If successful, it would mean the destruction, the immediate destruction. Well, not immediate. The invader would have 1 turn left to establish supply lines, but if they failed, all these guys would just be wiped off the map. So that's an advantage that the United States has, which is that the invaders are reliant upon supply lines. However, the United States, fighting on home territory, is always supplied. Let's go down the coast. Yeah, San Francisco. Oh, I didn't mean to destroy that unit. Well, I won't save this game. Yeah, San Francisco's been taken. Los Angeles has been taken. San Diego just fell from the Southern Invaders. That's the blue. Another place where the United States just recently fought a battle was in on the Colorado Plateau. Here's another place I sent in a bomber. And actually, I had some hover tanks and some helicopters in the Henry Mountains, but the hover tanks got taken out. And I also fought in from the Coconut, maybe, Plateau. Anyways, I didn't get the job done, but I didn't suffer too bad of casualties either. I think it was worth it. Partisans have shown up in the Rockies and in the South, and they are standing ready to do their solo defense magic that they do. There's another partisan too that I was really happy to be able to place. Yeah, right down here in the heart of Texas. So his purpose is to, again, force the enemy to have to commit some forces back toward their back lines in order to remove this constant threat that I have of perhaps retaking San Antonio with him if they were foolish enough to leave it undefended. I did the same thing here. With these 2 partisans that I was able to place, the partisans are placed according to cards that you get as the U.S. So they're unreliable. You never know when they're going to show up. But in this case, I got a card that said I could place 4 partisans in the South, and so I decided to place them here, and here. They're just pesky little guys that show up in the enemy's backfield, and that's a big United States strength, which is important that the United States has a lot of strengths because overall they are playing against 3 players, all of which are on paper equal in strength to the United States, each of them. So it is a serious 3-on-1 battle, but partisans are one of the things that keeps the game fresh, and the farther the game goes along, it's one of those games where the United States starts out with a big disadvantage but gets stronger over time. Another reason that the United States gets stronger over time is because of laser towers. So far, since we've only been through 2 turns, actually, I'm not sure why it says 3 turns. I could have fucked it up a little bit. Every turn, I get a laser tower online in one of my cities, and those laser towers are basically like bombers that roll a d10, the best dice in the game, except they can just strike anywhere, period. There's no, fly over there and then roll the dice, and they just hit. And in this case, I chose my 2 laser targets carefully. Wasn't good enough to get me the win that I wanted in the Northwest or in the other battle that I chose to fight, which was over the Colorado Plateau. And as you can see, I've largely expanded my U.S. forces outward from the heartland to meet all these constant threats. Miami's toast. Tampa's gone. Atlanta looks like they're going to hold on strong for a bit anyways. You can see that red is definitely pushing in here, but one thing that's important to note is that mountain territories are much easier to defend than normal territories. So the in my experience, especially with the lack of cities, like the Western Invader usually gets pretty cocky up until they hit the Rockies, and then that's where you really got to hold them down. That is a natural defensive barrier for the United States from the West. There's no such real barrier from a gut punch from the South. What you do not want to let them do is get into your unprotected Kansas City or St. Louis. Similarly, on the east, with a lot of cities and a lot of mountains, even though it looks like a very short drive to, say, Detroit, Indianapolis, Cleveland, it's a longer road than it looks because of that density of mountains and density of cities. Cities are also easier to defend than empty territories such as Nebraska. Well, there's some good news for the U.S. In my just now completed battle in Washington, D.C., which Red had taken from me, I did manage to take it back. So, what am I going to do with that? Now, the bombers have to move back. They are not allowed to land. So let's see. Put those bad boys back in Pittsburgh. I think they'll be safe there. Now, I attacked from both this mountain territory and from Philadelphia. So it's my option who to move in. I actually don't have to move anybody in, but I really do want to move at least one person in, because every time the United States retakes a city, they get an extra partisan card on the next turn. Usually you get 2 per turn, but in this case I'm going to get 3 because I retook DC. Now, my only question as the US player is, how much do I want to put into DC? Fuck it. I don't know. I'll take about 2 tanks. You know what? F you. That's my nation's capital. I'm going to put all 4 of my tanks in there. Keep my helicopter up here in Philly. I like where it is, since it's got a little more movement capabilities than the others. Right now we're in post-combat, and this is the only time that infantry can move. And so let's bring these guys down from New York. There is one way that infantry can move in pre-combat, and that's only if they are accompanied with the APC. When an APC moves, it can also bring one dude with it. let's see. Yeah, I did not strike from Atlanta because I really prefer to take advantage of the defensive bonuses there. Yeah, well, I'm going to stop the video here, finish my turnout, and play out some of the maybe more mechanical stuff. But that's a rough idea of what's going on in the world of Fortress America in the solo game. You guys should definitely play.